Hari Om to all. We are doing Amritabindu Upanishad. So let us meditate for some time. Step number one, Sthira Sukhasanam. Body must be fairly relaxed and still and comfortable. On a relaxed and still body only, we can base our meditation. Step number two, Sankalpa. I will sit straight, relaxed and still for the next 10 minutes. For this meditation and for this Amritabindu Upanishad session, I am only a seeker. I do not have any role to play. My goal is to realize my own self, know thyself, and I will follow the instructions given in the Amritabindu Upanishad. Step number three, Avahanam. For this meditation practice and for my spiritual growth and journey, I invoke my Ishta Devata's grace and Guru Parampara's grace. I bring the form of Ishta Devata in my mind. The form generates the feelings, the love. I can feel the Lord, my Guru's image, or Om if I do not have these two. With form and name, the feelings, the relationship comes, and meditation and spiritual growth is enhanced. Step number four, I imagine I worshipped the Lord. I have done Manas Puja of Guru and God in the form I love, and God and Guru are blessing me in the form of golden blue light, which is falling on my head, face, shoulders, hands, back, spinal cord, chest, stomach. Every cell in the body is caressed and lit up by the golden blue light coming from my Ishta Devata or God or Guru or from the Om. The stomach, buttocks, groin, thighs, knees, shin, calf muscles, ankles, feet. My entire body is relaxed and healed. It is still relaxed and completely healed. Next step, from the body, I withdraw the mind and focus on the breath. Just watching the breath, how the inhalation is happening, how the exhalation is happening, from which nostril it is happening, which nostril is more operational, which nostril is less operational. I must be able to know it Observation without judgment. Observation without any attachment, insistence, resistance is a very powerful practice. We have three choices: expression, suppression, and the third is observation of thoughts, words. सिर्फ देखना है, कुछ करना नहीं है. जो देखता है वो छूटता है. I can observe that my thoughts are decreasing, mind is becoming peaceful. When I focus my attention on the breath, that's an immediate effect I can experience myself. If the mind is too distracted, agitated, lot of thoughts are coming, then I employ kumbhak. I employ holding of the breath for half a minute so that with the stopping of the breath, the thoughts also stop. As we have studied in Upanishad, the source of I is the source of the breath. Both are same. If I stop one, the other one stops for some time. The source of I thought and the source of breath are same. Thought is completely dependent on the breath. Whenever I'm agitated, restless, distracted, observing breath is a very important practice. So now I focus on the Amritabindu Upanishad instruction and guidance and technique given of meditation, the technique of sound and silence. Mind loves silence. Mind loves sound. Mind cannot handle silence. So initially I focus on Swarena, Swara, that is Om sound. And for this practice, I will focus on the silence. I practice this till I fall in love with silence. When the mind starts loving the silence, slowly, slowly, the mind will start enjoying that silence. And in that silence, when there is nothing to cognize, the mind dissolves. That is the process. That is a technique. The aham survives on idam. And idam means objects, emotions, thoughts. If there is no idam, the aham will dissolve. And that is manonasha. As this Amritabindu Upanishad is focused on mind, we ensure that the quality, quantity, direction of thought is always observed. As Gurudev says, one of the best meditation practice for 24 hours is observing one's own thoughts. So let us chant 12 times Om, focusing only on the sound, and 3 times focusing on the silence between the sound. The silence is there between the thoughts also. But right now it is subtle to practice, so we are practicing sound and silence. Then when we start practicing observation of thoughts, then we can focus between the silence, between the two thoughts, there is silence, there is gap. In that gap, there is truth, self, Brahman, God, Atma, about which we are studying in Brahma Vidya. ओ ओ ओ ओ ओ ओ ओ ओ ओ ओ Now we observe the silence. Om. 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 With the silence of the mind, the peace of the self is attained. And only a meditator can know the real value of Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. Otherwise, it is not very easy to know the value of Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga. If one is not practicing the meditation, any kind of meditation, then only we know about ahara, sleep, our day-to-day transactions, the importance of that. If I'm not practicing meditation, then I will not really know what Bhagavad Gita is telling in various chapters to practice, to quieten the mind, then to concentrate the mind and to transcend the mind. 3 steps. So let us invoke God's and Guru's grace by chanting loudly. And slowly, slowly, I must increase the practice from 10 minutes to 15 minutes to 20 minutes to half an hour to 1 hour. ॐ सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैः स्तुष्टुवागंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्ठनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः स्थावरं जङ्गमं व्याप्तं यत्किञ्चित् सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः चिन्मयं व्यापि यत्सर्वं त्रैलोक्यं सचराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः त्वमेव माता च पिता त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव सर्वं मम देवदेव सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पाद शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम् शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणम् सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्
Vidya, you can chant 1 to 8.
मनो हि द्विविधं प्रोक्तं शुद्धं चाशुद्धमेव च अशुद्धं कामसङ्कल्पं शुद्धं कामविवर्जितं मन एव मनुष्याणां कारणं बन्धमोक्षयोः बन्धाय विषयासक्तं मुक्तं निर्विषयं स्मृतं यतो निर्विषयस्यास्य मनसो मुक्तिरिष्यते हतो निर्विषयं नित्यं मनः कार्यं मुमुक्षुणा निरस्तविषयासङ्गं सन्निरुद्धं मनोहृदि यदा यात्यात्मनो भावं तदा तत्परमं पदम् तावदेव निरोद्धव्यं यावत् हृदि गतं क्षयम् एतज्ज्ञानं च ध्यानं च शेषो न्यायश्च विस्तरः नैव चिन्त्यं न चाचिन्त्यं न चिन्त्यं चिन्त्यमेव तत् पक्षपातविनिर्मुक्तं ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते तदा स्वरेण सन्धयेत् योगम् अस्वरं भावयेत् परम् अस्वरेणानुभावेन भावो वा भाव इष्यते तदेव निष्कलं ब्रह्म निर्विकल्पं निरञ्जनं तद्ब्रह्माहमिति ज्ञात्वा ब्रह्म सम्पद्यते ध्रुवम्.
Very nice, Vidya. So we are doing Amritabindu Upanishad in the first 8 verses. Following is indicated. Number 1, the cause of our misery and suffering in life is ignorance. What is the ignorance? 2 factors. Two factors. Am I only seeing the speakers? Speaker is only seen?
No, sir, we can see you.
But only the speaker, no? The speakers, Manisha told you do the speakers as the prime. Otherwise, everybody's screen is seen in the recording.
Yeah, अच्छा everybody's screen. हाँ आ रहा है.
No, only my face or that
Yeah, no, sir,
entire
I
screen.
have. Yeah, only your face is there.
Huh?
I I can see only your face. I
Okay,
don't know
okay.
about
That is what is
this.
important. Yeah. Okay. So the basic cause of this is suffering. The basic cause of misery and suffering is ignorance. What is this ignorance? Two banks. I am body, mind, intellect, and world is real. This ignorance goes with knowledge. So I must have Brahma Vidya, do satsang, and listen. But I already have knowledge, but why is it not going? The reason is that my mind is not pure. So, how to purify the mind? So, we have to remove the impurities. What are the impurities? Attachments, objects. And because this ignorance is there, the mind always seeks happiness in the world. And because it seeks happiness in the world, it gets dependent on the world, objects, emotions, thoughts, people, situations. And then that creates attachment and that creates suffering and misery. So, because there is attachment, then kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsara happens. And then constantly this is created because of sankalpa. Very important point which is mentioned in Amritabindu Upanishad. Sankalpa again and again comes that I will get happiness from a relationship, I will get happiness from some object, I will get happiness from some situation, I will get happiness from some emotions. Yes, happiness is there, but as I start observing the thoughts, as I start observing deeply my life, I understand that this is fleeting, this is temporary, and it creates a lot of attachment. So instead of getting happiness, I start feeling miserable, restless, and all this negative emotion starts emerging. So then what I do, I take help of the different yogas, whatever is my temperament. If I am very restless and active, then I take help of karma yoga and practice nishkama seva. If my temperament is more emotional, I practice bhakti yoga. If my temperament is jnani, then I keep reading and doing satsang. Ideally, I have to do all. And the importance of this I was mentioning earlier is when only when I start practicing meditation, I realize why Bhagwan is again and again giving all these three yogas. Only in sixth chapter he gave the Dhyana Yoga, but again and again throughout Gita he gives importance of Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga because the Dhyan has to be proper. So what happens after I practice yogas? The mind will start getting purified. How do I know whether the mind is getting purified? Purified, I know. Purified or not, the mind will start becoming peaceful. The mind will start becoming cheerful. Just this Sunday, yesterday, we saw the tapas of mind. The mind will remain detached. Mind will give up its tendency to create sankalpa that there is happiness, there is happiness. It will remain maximum time in the present moment and be mindful. It will become loving, it will become alert, it will become sharp, it will become subtle. Very important word here is subtle. Without the mind becoming subtle, meditation is not possible. Because the mind has to dissolve, the mind has to penetrate Brahman. And with all these idam thoughts, with all these gross thoughts, the mind cannot enter. Even though I know it, it will not happen because the mind has to become subtler and sharper. So once I purify the mind will start becoming subtler and sharper. And with that subtler or sharper mind, very importantly, I practice concentration of mind. And then when I start practicing concentration of mind, then chitta ekagrata will happen. Then my mind will, when I'm listening to discourse, it will listen to discourse. and it will revel in that. After the session is over, it will revel in that. Suppose I am reading one scripture of Atma, Brahman, because that is my goal. The mind will constantly revel in Atma and Brahman only throughout the day. It will not enjoy other thoughts, other gossip, other events, other talks. It will not enjoy. Sometimes it will go again, it will come back. No, no, no. I'm not enjoying all those things because my goal is Atma, Brahman, God, Guru, whatever. So it has, these are the pointers to note whether my mind is getting purified or no, or concentrated or no. And suppose I am reading a book, I will forget time. When I am listening to the topic of my love, that is Brahma Vidya, Atma Vidya, Bhagavad Gita, Amritabindu Upanishad, Jap, Puja, I will not keep counting and remembering what is the time going on. These are the pointers. And then after Shravan Manan, the mind is purified and concentrated. Then I practice the Nididhyasanam mentioned in Amritabindu Upanishad. Here I can follow any technique. Amritabindu Upanishad technique is sound and silence. I focus first of all the mind on sound. Why? Because mind loves sound. Basically, mind is only coming, sound is coming from the ears and the light is coming from the eyes. This sound and light coming from the senses, it interprets, the mind interprets it. The senses only collect the light and sound, then the mind interprets. In between, they talk about brain and all, the brain cognizes, but the mind recognizes. It interprets. And with this knowledge, the interpretation will start changing. Whatever sound comes, whatever light comes, basically these are the two, name and form, name and form, name and form. And the mind will start interpreting it differently. And finally, when enlightenment, nirvana, moksha happens, only the interpretation will change. I will start seeing everything as one, everything as God only. Then the mind focuses on silence. This is a very important point. And when the mind starts focusing on the silence, it will dissolve because mind cannot handle the silence. Mind constantly is alive. The ahankar, the ego, the I. So when we are practicing observation of thought, this will be the homework for this week. Observation of thoughts 24 by 7. Because now we have come to Upanishadic level, because now we are going to take in the next session. I'm inviting all of you. There are three Avasthatraya Vivek is going to come. In that, we will take one detailed session on Sushupti Avastha decoding. Sushupti Avastha is the most, what do you call, interesting Avastha which is beyond intellect. And that can only happen when my mind has started observing the thoughts. So when I start observing the thoughts, I think all of us would have experienced that what will be my next thought. Can you guarantee? Just take, let us do this practice for next 15 seconds. Just close your eyes and see what is your next thought. And can you predict what will be the next thought? No, I cannot predict my next thought. If that would have been possible, I would have created all happy thoughts. I would have created all thoughts for Brahman, Atma and self-realized, but next thought only I cannot predict. So now very important point to note. Thoughts are coming, thoughts are going, thoughts are coming, thoughts are going, and some thoughts are remaining. Now when I start practicing these thoughts, then I start focusing that who is the thinker of the thoughts. And when I start focusing on the thinker, I will realize that there is no thinker only thoughts are there. There are thoughts without a thinker, because there is no one solid thinker who is there. So now Upanishadic students and sadhaks are interested in all these things. If this is not your subject of interest or is not interesting for you, then I have to practice something else. There are thoughts without a thinker. Who is the thinker? Naiva Manasam, Ramana Maharshi says. When I inquire about mind, the mind disappears. And this is the Marg Arjava. This is a direct path. I am not interested in purification of. So now just for interest I am mentioning. Huh? Ramana Maharshi's path is what? Oh no, not purification, concentration, transcendence. He says only directly I am asking. Manasam tu kim? What is mind? When I start inquiring what is mind, now for that interest has to be there, and for that the mind has to be purified. The mind disappears. Job is done. Because there is no concept as there is nothing called as mind, he says. Now, why we are discussing this? Because this is Amritabindu Upanishad, which started with mind only. Entire analysis of mind we are doing. And then what will happen? Then the mind will start focusing on the silence and it will dissolve. And what will happen? Non-existence will become existence. Existence will become non-existence. That is the last session we saw. What does that mean? Now what is existence? What is there in for mind, cognition, the world and body, mind, intellect? That is my existence. That will become non-existent and Spurati Rutsvayam, another self will emerge. Not emerge suddenly from somewhere. I am that only. And the existence will become non-existence. Means we have done Ishavasya Upanishad. So here immediately the first verse must come. Ishavasyam idagam sarvam. That means existence will become non-existence. That means this entire Jagat will become one. Sarvam Kilam Brahma. So that is the meaning of the last verse. And then, but then what will I realize? Okay, that is that I understood the process. But what is the nature of the self? What is that nature of the self? Who am I? Now we saw in the last verse, in the eighth, that you will realize that you are without differences, without parts, and without any dirt, taintless, partless, and differenceless. And these are the three causes of misery. When there is a difference, there is a problem. When there is some dirt, there is a problem. And when there are parts, there is a problem. And so, gross body, subtle body, and the causal body was negated in the last 8th verse. And now in the 9th verse, furthermore, Bhagavan is giving that how is that self? I am not satisfied. I want to know myself. The whole problem is that people say, I want to see God. I want to see God. One person went and told Mahatma, I want to see God. You're talking about God only. He asked him, have you seen yourself? Yeah, this body. No, this body is only dress. Have you seen yourself? Hari Om, we are Upanishadic sadhak, so I must ask this one. Have I seen myself? I have not seen myself only because I do not know who am I. If I have not seen myself and then I want to see God, so I want to know more about my own self. And then we come to the 9th verse where he says, divide, yourself is devoid of division, beginningless, endless, immeasurable beyond logic and comparison. So I would request Vidya to chant 9th verse twice.
निर्विकल्पमनन्तं च हेतुदृष्टान्तवर्जितम् अप्रमेयमनादिं च यज्ञात्वा मुच्यते बुधः निर्विकल्पमनन्तं च हेतुदृष्टान्तवर्जितम् अप्रमेयमनादिं च यज्ञात्वा मुच्यते बुधः.
So Nirvikalpa means thought only, thought. But what is here devoid of division? Why? Because thought divides. Hari Om, this is an underlying point. Where there is a thought, the purpose of a thought is to divide. Only by division the knowledge can happen. Because there is no thought in the deep sleep, there is no knowledge. So it is called as one homogeneous ghana, prajnana ghana. In Mandukya Upanishad it has been mentioned. Deep sleep state. Ghana means one homogeneous. Why become one? So devoid of division, without beginning, endless, measurable, beyond comparison is Brahman. And again in 8th and 9th verse, knowing which a wise one is liberated. So once I know this is myself, I become liberated. But then is that liberation real? No, no, that liberation also is not real because bondage also was unreal. The liberation also is unreal. Because who gets liberated and who gets bonded? The ego. And the ego is illusory. It's a very interesting thought because Buddhist philosophy says there is no self. And the question is asked, who is enlightened then? When you say enlightened one, who is enlightened if there is no self? So then this logic they give that there is no thinker, there is no ego, there is no real self what we are holding on to because that self is illusory who is thinking that I am bound. And that illusory self dissolves. And then when the illusory self dissolves, the real self is already always there. So we'll analyze the ninth mantra now. Brahman is without division, Triputi. What is division? Basically, division means Triputi. Tukaram Maharaj says, Ata Sandili Triputi. Ata Sandili Triputi means what? The distinction between the knower, knowing and known. That is our Triputi. Whenever I say that this is a chair, Hari Om, I have to listen carefully now. When I say this is a chair, this is a pot, this is a table, I am not saying this is a table or this is a chair or this is a laptop. I say I know that this is a chair. That I know is at the background. I'll repeat. After this session, if anybody has any questions, please write down. When I say, when I'm having some knowledge of a chair, table, or sound that is coming, I say this is a chair. That is a knowledge happening. When I say this is a chair, actually the meaning is I know that this is a chair. That is a complete sentence. So there is a knower, then there is a knowing, and then there is a known. That is a triputi. And here the Mahatma is saying is that the knower, knowing, and the known goes. And then what remains? Only the illuminator remains. So very important point that with the Jnate Tattve Ka Sansara. So with the known, the knower also goes. So when the world disappears, the knower of the world also disappears. What remains is the illuminator. And Nirvikalpa, why it has been mentioned? Because thought divides all these things. There is a knower thought, there is a knowing thought, and there is a known thought. So I have to, after this session, this whole week, I have to just close eyes, be disinterested in everything, and just keep thinking about what is being told about this knower, known, knowing. Then I should sit straight, close my eyes, and say, okay, let me know my thoughts. Okay, the thoughts become the known. Then there is a knower. Who is the knower? And what is this knowing? And then J.K. Krishnamurti says that these all three devise and there is only knowing, that is consciousness. Brahman is without beginning and without an end, unborn, ever exist, eternal, anantam. Ignorance also is eternal, but it has an end. It has no beginning, but it has an end. How ignorance started? Nobody knows. Why am I ignorant? That question is invalid. Because ignorance has no beginning. Similarly, Brahman is also without beginning, without an end, but ignorance is beginningless, but has an end with the knowledge. But I must not ask that question, why? Why I was born? Because I was born out of ignorance. But I didn't create the ignorance. The ignorance was created by whom? This is a big topic and big debate. Avidya Ashray. Whether Avidya's Ashray is Brahman or Avidya's Ashray is Jiva. This is a big topic of debate and there are both sides. Brahman is beyond measure, beyond senses and mind, which are measuring instruments. Aprameya manadim. Brahman is beyond comparison. When there is two, there is comparison. When there is two, there is a desire. When there is two, there is a fear. Wherever there is a desire, there will be fear. But here, Brahman is Advait, objectless, timeless, spaceless. And that's the reason we talk about fearless happiness. Because wherever there is other, there will be division. Wherever there is two, there will be division, there will be desire, there will be fear. दो में भ्रांति, तीन में क्रांति, एक में शांति. Wherever there is two, there will be Bhranti, duality, ignorance will come. Wherever there are three, there is be fighting, Kranti, and where there is one, there is Shanti. So that's the reason in deep sleep there is Shanti, because there is no world, there is me, there is no me. And everybody becomes so desperate to go to sleep. If I don't sleep for 24 hours, there will be restlessness. Conclusion, Brahman is beyond time, space, object. As finite is limited by time, space, object. This we have seen detailed in Taittiriya Upanishad, that the finite is limited by what? Time. The moment I think I am a body, then there will be a time when I was born, time when I will die. The moment I am born, the Atma is infinite, but as a body, if I think, then body has a space. And then body has an object, like I am a woman, I am a man, one body, one object is not like another body. So Advitiya. So Brahman is beyond time, beyond space, beyond object. So it is fearlessly happy. There is no fear, there is no happiness. Wherever there will be time, wherever there will be space, and where will be object limitation, there will be fear, there will be desire. And that's the reason we discuss this in Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. Anantam is infinite. And what is the opposite of infinite? Finite. So what are the finite limitations created? Three things are limiting our entire happiness. That is time. For some people, time is misery only because time is going. Time is related to the body, because the moment I think I am body, then I am born and there will be death. So there is time. Between one thought and another thought, there is time. Between today and tomorrow, there is time. But what is time? Duration between two events. What is space? Distance between two events, two thoughts. And what is object? Name and form, which will be, this object will not be like any other object. So these are the three limitations what we have. Brahman is beyond time, space, objects. Brahman is beyond logic. Hetu drishtanta varjitam, but not illogical. Why? Because Brahman, very important point, Brahman cannot be known by logic. Brahman cannot be known by inference. So we'll take up this topic. Inference is, what is inference? We have learned Praman, which are most of you who are present today. Mountain has fire. How do you know? Recently, just day before yesterday, there was a building in South Mumbai or Lower Parel, somewhere, 24th floor, the fire was, smoke was coming. And then people concluded there is fire. How did I conclude there is fire? Because wherever there is smoke, there will be fire. Logic, where there is smoke, there is the fire. How do I know? Drishtanta, just as in the kitchen, whenever there is smoke, there is fire. This is called as inference, logic. Can Brahman be known by inference? No. Because the world is there, Brahman is there. This is one logic we can give. But is there any proof that world has come from Brahman? Has anyone seen? No. Conclusion, no one has seen that world has come from Brahman. So Brahman cannot be known by logic. So what is a... So it cannot be known? No, it can be known. Upanishad is the Praman. Upanishad is the valid mean. So Shabda Praman among all Pramans is the most valid. So what is Shabda Praman? That is Shruti, that is Upanishad. And then Yukti, then I apply logic. And then there is Anubhuti. Oh, I can experience it that Aham Brahmasmi. I am the creator. Not that I was born in this world. I am the creator of this world. And where does the world exist? It is exist in my thought. When there is no thought, no world. So Shruti, Yukti, Anubhuti. Then when I experience this, there is Nirvikalpa Samadhi happens. What is Nirvikalpa Samadhi? The ego dissolves and I realize what? I am Brahman. But I want to know that state of realization. What is that state? So that state we will take it next time. What is that state? What is that I am seeking? What will happen when I realize in that and when I experience that state? Though it is not an experience, it is aparokshanubhuti. So I hope you are enjoying. If any questions are there, you can ask right now. We'll just complete the session and stop the recording. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Thank you very much for listening.